Hi again. Just wanted to, moving on from the first video that I showed you about how to map out postcode areas for marketing in home care. I just wanted to have a look at how we use that then and where you get the data from to work on that. And first of all, there's various sources for data. You've got the Office of National Statistics, we've got Department of Work and Pensions, and UK House Price Index are three. These different DWP again there. And we'll utilize a whole range of data sets in order to try and target the areas we want to look at. So let's look at, for example, Office of National Statistics, and we can pull down, I'll give you an example of some of the data we pull down here. And this is one particular data set that I pulled down. And it gives us, for every single local authority area, it gives us the median age, the average age of the area, the population density, so that is how many people live in a square kilometre. So you can see that here. If you compare Nottingham, which has a population of density of almost 4,500 people per square kilometre, compared to Herefordshire, which has 88 people per square kilometre. Obviously, Herefordshire is going to cost you an awful lot in mileage to try and develop a structure in there, compared to Nottingham, which is going to, I mean, you know, it's not that simple, obviously, but that gives you a good idea. Then you've got the population density factor that's in there. Obviously, the higher the number, the more dense it is. And usually you want to be looking at the more dense areas. Not always the case. There's plenty of, you just need to structure a rural or less dense area. You structure the delivery and the marketing in a slightly different way from a dense area. And then it tells you what percentage of the population are in these age bands, what percentage are 0 to 15 years old, what percentage are 65 plus, and what percentage are 85 plus. And again, obviously, if you're targeting, certainly for elderly care, you want to be targeting here. You want the people that have got a higher percentage of the population in this age bracket. You know, that's kind of common sense. It also tells you what the percentage of the working age are, and that's useful for recruitment. So if you're in your area, you might be recruiting one particular postcode area or ward for clients, but actually another one for recruitment. And you can target your recruitment, and you're targeting very, very, get right in there and really target specific demographics. You've also got the old age dependency ratio. The higher the area means there's more people of an age who are dependent, and then you've got the overall dependency ratio. And again, the higher the ratio means more people are dependent, and that's a whole variety of factors that I'm not going to go into right now. So we can cut this down. So, for example, if I look at where I live, or say, for example, I live in Greater Manchester. I live in Bolton in Greater Manchester. And if I was looking where to target an area to open one or more branches, I might want to list all the areas which are next to my area. So these are all the boroughs of Greater Manchester that all border onto each other, along with, because I live in Bolton, up to the north is Blackburn with Darwen, which is a unitary authority, and Chorley, which is part of Lancashire and is commissioned by Lancashire County Council, but the demographics here are obviously slightly different. You know, and that's the good thing about this. It's not just on commissioning local authority. It's actually large county councils broken down into individual areas for your demographics. So I can then look at which areas do I want to start focusing on to open my new branches. So if I wanted to target, say, 85 plus, I might then sort that by, we'll do it the other way. Sort that by the highest percentage of people over 85, and then do a second. Secondly, you look at it from the highest portion over 65. So I see it might be Stockport that I want to look at because that's got the highest proportion. So Stockport and Trafford and Bury. But then I look at, and then that's fine. That's I've got that there. Working age people, round about the same. So you shouldn't have too bad. Where I don't want to be opening up really is Manchester city centre. Huge population density, but if you look at the average 85 plus, it's half of everywhere else. Although the working age is far higher, and that makes sense. A lot more younger people living in apartments, etc., within Manchester city centre. so that might give you an idea of the areas that you want to start opening. And if you do decide to open a branch or push your marketing into certain areas, you might want to then break that down a little bit further. So then we can start looking at other criteria. So this one, for example, is a data set taken from the ONS, where it's got every single ward broken down. So that's your council ward, where there's a councillor in it, usually 2 councillors for every ward, in every single local authority area. So if we've decided from here to maybe target Stockport, for example, then we can look on here and let's look at this local authority, take that off and look for Stockport. Oops. Stockport there. So we've chosen Stockport, and now we get the figures for all the wards in Stockport broken down. Now this ties back into what the previous video about how we actually physically plan out the areas. I can't plan out wards on Google Maps simply because you kind of have to start paying for that data, and I'm trying to use data that is completely open source and free. But what you can do is you can physically map out. You can get ward maps from your local authority. That's usually public knowledge, physical ones, and you can physically map them out against the postcode areas. So you can work that out yourself. It's not particularly difficult. Well, in fact, it's not at all difficult. It takes a little bit of time, but it's not particularly complex to work out which postcode areas cover each ward. But what you can do now is this gives you the data for how many people on each age there are, from literally from 0, from birth, right the way up. This is year of birth, so 1-year-olds, 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds, etc., right the way up to people who are 90 plus. Now, if we were interested in, say, 65, all the people who are 65 plus, we could simply just do a little addition there, go for 65, and then just add up how many are there. Problems there, it's not allowing me to try again. No problems there, just try that again. So delete that. So there we go. And that's a bit better. So we've got 3,050 people in that ward in Bramhall North who are over 65. We just drag that down, and there we get all the numbers. So now if we rearrange those, we could take, I'm not going to rearrange that now because it'll mess up with the rest of the spreadsheet. But you can see you could then allocate those. So for example, there's 1,000 people there in Cheadle Heath, there, Edgeley and Cheadle Heath, whereas in here in Bramhall South, there are 3,300. So you might want to be targeting Bramhall South, you might want to be targeting Offerton as your 2 main areas. And that's where then you would come back to the previous video that I did, where you've mapped out the actual postcode areas, and then you're looking in those areas. So you've really targeted now down to postcode areas, the areas with the highest number of people over 65. And that means when you're actually then start doing your marketing, you're not wasting your money. And that marketing might be offline marketing or it might be digital marketing, but it's very, very targeted. So you're actually targeting down to literally a few postcode areas, which is a small area, which you could do flyer drops, you can do digital marketing, you can get involved in networking. But the fact is you've started now looking at that. You can also look at other things in marketing, such as how many groups there are, how many community groups, what community associations are working in those areas. I'm not going to go into that right now. I was really just talking about the data here and how to use data. And this is how you use it. You break it down so that you're targeting your overall area, and then you can target within an area, within Stockport, you can start targeting very, very specifically where you want to spend your marketing money. And it's not just Office of National Statistics, as I said. You can actually look at DWP, where you're looking at how many people in respect of job seekers allowance. And the one, if you're targeting there, how many getting carers allowance, how many getting attendance allowance, how many getting disability living allowance, personal independence payments. So you can again pull down data from these sites, looking at these, and then cross-reference them with this data that you're getting. You can also even look at house prices. I think I showed you that earlier. Look at house prices by area. This one is Reading. You can look at house prices in certain areas from, and this is from the land registry. So you can start really focusing. Nothing's ever perfect. It's never going to give you an exact amount, but what it is going to target an area where you're not wasting your marketing money. And that's the point, is to get your private clients in care, you're going to have to market yourself. You're going to have a proper marketing strategy. And that strategy is based on, you don't want to be spending your money, wasting your money. It's got to show you some return so that when you spend the money, you get either back from either recruitment or new clients. And this is how I do it with clients. So this is how we work with clients. We break up the areas into easy to manage postcode areas, and then we do the stats to find out which ones to target.